Kevin Brown, you owe me a free load of gravel now.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. We are live from, let's see if anybody guesses what garage I'm sitting in before I pan the camera. Give you 5 seconds. Where am I? Who is the new head of tech at Claremont Motorsports Park? Ready, guys? Do you want to see? Hello, Ernie Boudreau. What is going on, my friend?
Well, here I am.
So everybody, was it worth the wait and worth the surprise? I sure think it was. So, Ernie, people that don't know you outside, because we're being watched by a ton of people, fill people in. When did you first set foot in a race car?
First set foot in a race car in 1963 on dirt, obviously. And I raced 10 years on dirt, and then I went to asphalt for another 20 years, and it goes from there.
It's so funny because I grew up down the road from Ernie, and Ernie and my dad were close friends. So Ernie got into a car in 1963. My dad was 9. So that goes to show you right there. Ernie's been in a race car longer than pretty much.
I was going to say if it's 1963, I was -2.
Wow. So we reached out to Ernie a while ago when things went through, and he was just kind of you know what, I think I'll do it. So I'm happy you're going to come along. I think everybody is going to go. Let's see. Ernie, do you remember racing with Frank Buffum Sr.?
Absolutely.
So, all right, he does. Jeff Murray says, couldn't have picked a better person, and he will do amazing. Wow. Emily Miller says, hi, Ernie. Somebody said we're in Nate Kelly's shop. We're not. We're in Ernie Boudreau's shop. That is the 121 Punky Karen Coupe behind him, which I remember hearing a story back in the day that Punky told you if that thing ever raced in a senior tour, he would personally put it in the wall. I think it was something close to that he had said. So I remember back years ago you had brought it to the old Goshen Old Home Day, and Ernie had signed the roof probably, that had to be 20 years ago now at least.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it's been done since. But let's talk about this upcoming season. Like, I'm excited to get you in there and tell everybody how you're going to handle tech this year, because I'll tell you right now with Joe, basically we said, Ernie, tech is yours. Do what you want. Like, and is that the case?
That's the case. And it's the same way I was at Lee. I don't do tech. We had a tech crew, and they came to me if they needed something, and that's exactly how I'll run things at Claremont. And I had enough people telling me that, you know, Ernie's always there, and Ernie can tell me this and that, and I won't go into specifics of who's doing what and whatnot. And you were, I think, Mark, was probably like number 5 told me about Ernie, and it's like, yep, reach out to him. Let's make this happen.
Kevin Brown said Bob's aged a bit. Must be the new dad syndrome. Oh, man. Yeah, so the normal scheduled crew guys will be here in like 3 weeks. So we got a couple special shows coming your way. Another special one next week and something else the week after. But I think once we get into February, we'll get Downtown and Bob back in studio. So like the first question Ernie asked me was like, well, who's my tech people? And I said, well, you're head of tech, so that's up to you. Like, well, we're not picking them for you. Why should we give you a bunch of people? I want you to pick a crew that you're comfortable with, and so that's one of the things Joe said from the get-go. Have Ernie get guys that he trusts.
Yep, exactly.
So let everybody know how you're going to operate tech this year. Just so I'm telling you, and Joe is your general manager. Joe, what is your restrictions on Ernie?
Just be fair. It doesn't matter who it is. Treat everybody the same. That's all I ask for from any of my officials.
Exactly. I mean, as far as me doing tech, the first thing we got to do is come up with a tech crew. You know?
Yep, we do.
But we need to work together to get people that want to be on the tech crew and get people that are obviously qualified to do a job and do it well. And my only thing I got to say to anybody is that it's very, very easy to read the rule book and just go by the rules. If you don't go by the rules, then it ends up in a problem for everybody. So, and to me, it's not that hard to do. I did it my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not bragging about anything, but we raced between myself and Sean and Dylan for years, and honest to God, we never once got disqualified. We may have been accused of cheating a lot, but we, honest to God, we never did really, and I expect.
Wait a minute, we never did really?
Well, maybe once or twice, but we didn't get caught.
I cheated every single week I ever went out on the track, but you have to finish in the top 5 to get tech. So I was always free and clear, never got tech. So
When I first started working for Lee, I remember the first time walking through the pits with a NASCAR official's uniform on, and I'll never forget Bo Green yelling across the pits, "The biggest cheaters in NASCAR become tech officials."
That's usually true, you know. It really and truly is. That,
No comment.
well, people that cheat a lot are make good tech people because they know exactly what people are doing.
because they've done it.
That's
their
exactly
entire
right, they've
race
done
career.
it.
So, all right, Daniel Frederick has a question that says, are rule infractions going to require a committee meeting before you're allowed to declare a disqualification? So the way I believe it's
If you get disqualified and you have an issue with the call, there is a appeal procedure in the race procedures.
all right. So I want just so people understand how this year is going to work with Ernie. Joe, who makes the decision that night if someone's disqualified that night?
That's Ernie's job.
And the only way it goes any further is if the competitor wants to fill out one of the. Help me out with my English words here.
The appeal process.
The appeal process. Everybody's allowed to appeal at every track.
You have so many hours after the race or after the call's made to make your appeal, and then it goes to the NHSTRA board, where we will take all the information. We'll talk to Ernie. We'll get what the competitor's complaint was, and then we'll sit down and take a vote on it.
So, but as far as the day-to-day operations, the final say at that track is Ernie Boudreau when it comes to tech. So, and Ernie's going to put together his whole tech crew as well. So,
Like I said, the only way I should be involved with tech is if Ernie has a question of me or if somebody makes an appeal.
So now, guys, if you are interested in assisting Mr. Boudreau with the tech department at Claremont Motorsports Park, definitely reach out to him. The group chat over here is going fun. I closed that before I came on, but they're having some interesting stuff. So we'll have to introduce you to Tony Quadros, just so you know, because he's like, I don't know who this is, in the group chat having fun here. So
how can Tony not know who Ernie
he's
is?
being facetious.
Tony doesn't know who it is.
He says he didn't know who you are.
Of course he does.
All right, so on certain stuff, like if Ernie needs, so I'm being asked, why did we used to have to wait till Tuesday? If Ernie has to research something, he has to research something. That is his call.
The way the rules are written, the race is official Monday at noon, only because for that exact reason. If you need to look something up, if we need to, if somebody's shock is questionable and we need time to call a manufacturer or whatever, we do it Monday morning, and by noontime we make our decision.
So sounds great to me. I'm looking forward to the season because I think I've said it a billion times. Growing up at Claremont, to me it was Claremont Speedway back in the day. I still catch myself saying that now.
Well, we had that discussion this weekend. I think Ben, if he had his way, it would still be.
It would still be Claremont Speedway.
I
but
like
unfortunately,
it
can't be.
Speedway, but
I don't like that one. I don't ever remember being at that. Actually,
but it'd be something different.
Online at one point, was it called Catamount Speedway? I saw something. No, so that was something different.
Twin State, wasn't it?
Back in the day, I was going off this old thing that somebody had sent me years ago. So Ernie, when did you retire from racing? I remember when, but when did you step out and Sean get into the modified?
I stepped out in 1993.
And how often have you thought about getting back behind the wheel?
Actually, never.
That's
I really
amazing
haven't.
to me.
I mean, I've had opportunities with the guys, with Sean and stuff that told me to take the car out, take the mod out in hot laps and stuff. I never really wanted to do it. I guess that what happened after doing it for 30 years, it wasn't fun to me anymore. And I, sat at the end of pit road one night and said, it's just not fun anymore, and wasn't enjoying it. So I got together with Sean, obviously, and said, Sean, how'd you drive a modified? And it went from there.
It's just unbelievable to me because it happened so quick, and then Sean became a force at Claremont Motorsports Park, Claremont Speedway back then, and then on the tour, and then he went on to become most popular driver numerous times. And he's just another one that you were telling me a story before we went on that it was just like he won, and in victory lane, he looked at you and said, "I'm all done."
He did, absolutely.
Like, what are you doing? When I get it, he went out on top.
Well, I was going to say, if you're going to go out, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was going to do that. I was totally shocked because he was driving Phil Chastain's car there, that modified, and him and Dwight had a real good race that night, and he ended up beating Dwight. And we were down there in victory lane. I was all happy in hell, and he got out of the car and looked at me and said, "I'm all done." I'm like, "What do you mean you're all done?" He said, "I'm retiring right now." He said, "I've always figured that when I was on the top, I was going to quit." And he did, and he walked away.
I still find that amazing. And I remember, didn't Sean get into a late model at one point and run that for pretty consistently with that as well?
Dave Young had a late model they threw together.
We got to talk him back behind the wheel of something.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen.
I don't know. Steve Bly just jumped back behind the wheel this year and told me he's having more fun now than he ever did back in the day. So,
well, he probably does, but the reason that we never did anything after that was financially. It's just we always did it on our own and ran on a very slim budget, and it was just really tough. I mean, the modified now is pretty much, you're looking at $50,000, $60,000, $75,000.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then Dylan had that beautiful one, the black one, and had the throttle hung up and hit the wall.
Yeah, I felt really bad about that too because, I'm the one that did all the mechanical work on that car, and I mean, Dylan put a ton of money and so much effort in that car, and it just turned into a shit show and throttle stuck for a reason that we never figured out why, and the car got destroyed, and that pretty much ended that for Dylan too. He got a concussion out of it, and a stuck throttle is never good. Thank God Sean never had one. Dylan had that one. I had one, and it's just stuck throttles don't end well.
They don't. But you have skipped over the fact that Sean actually was in probably one of the scariest wrecks I had ever seen in my life at Claremont Motorsports Park.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I actually sent a message yesterday to Jill Chastity when we were at the show because I know she had pictures of it. So I was trying to get the pictures so I could have them for today's show, and I just couldn't end up finding them. Where he barrel rolled down the front stretch at Claremont.
He did. I mean, that was another thing. We got that car and we sent it out to Hirschman over the winter. And he went all through the car, put a front clip on it, did all kinds of stuff to the car. And we ran, I think, one show at Monadnock with it. Maybe had a little engine problem or something, but the car handled great. It was really looked like a really good car. Went to Claremont with it, and in the heat race, the guy in front of him didn't go when they dropped the green flag, and Sean went over him and ended up going end over end with the car and basically totally destroyed the car. The car was junk. It bent the roll cage.
The car was not even as long as this table from the pictures I remember seeing after when it was done.
It basically ruined the car. But the car ended up, believe it or not, getting fixed.
Really?
It went back to its original owner, who was Bucky Demers. Bucky now has that same car.
That's unbelievable.
That's what I thought, too. I mean, Rusty Ball fixed it.
Was that the one that had the roof that would flop open? Is that car?
Well, that roof may have been on that car, yeah.
I remember that at one point he had one that the roof flopped open on.
I still have that roof. It's
I told Ernie I can't leave here without some sort of body panel today. So when he takes off to use the restroom, I'm shoving that Teddy Christopher panel over here or something into my car.
My money says you're getting nothing tonight.
Dylan is shaking his head. No, not happening. So. Let's see. When are great-grandkids going to be getting in the car? Jacqueline McClay wants to know. Oh, Steve Bly said no. He was having more fun when he was winning races.
Yeah, keep at it. You'll get it.
So, yeah, let's see here. Cody Sabin says, yeah, its hardest part is pure stock is that there's 10 ways to read each rule. I'll tell you what, pure stocks, I don't know how anybody techs that division because there's so much stuff to know. Every car is different. You have to know a billion different things on those cars because what is in one isn't in the other. That's got to be the worst division. So exactly. I'm pretty sure Ernie is definitely going to be looking for some assistance with somebody who is very good with pure stocks and six shooters and stuff like that.
And we've thrown a couple names around. We haven't told Ernie about it yet, but we have.
Definitely going to need help with that division.
Absolutely.
That's a very complicated division. It really and truly is.
Well, the problem is you got different horsepowers with different wheelbases and everything else. It's just a smorgasbord of everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, somebody else said, too. Did Sean roll a car over at Seekonk not long before that one or after that as well?
No.
I thought somebody had said that in chat.
No, he didn't. The only time Sean was upside down was at Claremont.
Okay. Oh, I do see Corey Plummer says he'll sell you a winning winning championship car for $30K. So if anyone's looking for one, looking for a mod, there you go. Ernie, get right back in.
Sure. No
Let's
problem.
turn that tech helmet back out and get back in with the racing helmet.
No.
So I remember the last, probably it was, I think it was your last season. I followed, Ernie is my absolute, if anybody hasn't realized, man, like my absolute favorite race car driver of all time. So with his career, I was telling him stories of stuff that happened that he probably just shook his head early. He's like, yeah, I remember that. And he probably had no clue. I remember this stuff. But I remember one of his last races at Claremont, like he started on the pole and he led almost every lap. And it was a caution, late race caution. And I remember just didn't have enough on the restart because I'm assuming you probably didn't have new tires. You didn't have the best of everything in that car. And I remember Dwight got you on the outside, and then I think you ended up finishing like 4th or 5th because they freight trained you with 2 to go, and I was like devastated. But what was your, looking back among your career that you had, what was your all-time best moment that you had out there on the track, whether it just be fun or the best time you ever had behind the wheel of a car that you remember this day?
You know, I've been asked that question before, and I honestly can't answer it because there's so many. I mean, when you're involved with this sport so long, that there's so many memories. They're all good, and a lot of them bad. I really honestly can't answer that question. I can't. I wish I could.
I was hoping to get
some
something.
of my best moments didn't involve me. It was the guys, like when Dylan was winning and Sean was winning. It meant so much to me. You know, like when Sean won his first mod race with a big mod, I personally built that engine for him, and to win against the guys, Dwight and those guys were running, and for Sean to win a race in that mod with my built engine, it meant the world to me, and that meant so much to me. And then when Dylan came along, and Dylan was winning races all the time and doing so good with that car, that meant more to me than anything that I've ever done in my career. It really did. My career was pretty much crap, but not really. For 30 years, I had, don't get me wrong, I had a ball racing, and I built cars and did all the shit with the cars, racing them all over, went to Monadnock and Star and all over the place, ran cars. But I really never had any money to run, and my stuff was really junk. But I had fun. I made a lot of good friends, people that I still associate with, and those meant a lot to me those years doing it myself. But most of the stuff, the good memories are with the kids.
So the thing that I took out of spending a lot of time in your garage as a kid, whereas you would go to a different garage that had a ton of money, they would just throw new parts on the car anytime something happened. I would see you at a press straightening stuff out. Like I remember you used to take body panels off and like smack them back down with boards on the floor. Like that's the thing though. This is what makes a true racer. Like you stretched what you had to the absolute fullest. What you did, you're selling yourself short. You are the epitome of what everybody in short track racing wants to do. And you did it successfully for 30 years. You never were seriously hurt that I know of behind the wheel. You always had a safe car. You have a son who turned out to be a world-class driver. He was the most popular driver on the tour for years. Dylan, who's a kick-ass driver himself for many years behind the wheel. Dylan I remember him in the little kid's car down, the little 10, kind of that color over there. Then he went into the, all the way up into the car. I'm looking around the wall, guys. If you've never been to Ernie's garage, you need to come here because there's just history from one end to the other, all the way up into the late models and into the modified. Like, I get it. You got to live through them for the last 25 years since you've been out of a car, or however long it's been. I don't want to date you, so sorry, guys, if I added more years on there than I should, because it all adds together to me because it's just been my entire life over there. Let's see. Anybody have questions? A lot of people excited in chat. Does anybody have questions, though? Earl Mole wants to know if the Teddy panel's been scrapped anywhere out back. No, that is not. Let's see. Jeff Murray enjoyed growing up down with the whole family. Yeah, like I remember you traded a modified, if I remember, with Jeff's dad, didn't you, at one point back in the day? And I remember he showed up and painted, the top and made it a 70. And that car that you traded, I remember to this day, I was Ernie's huge pain in the butt. I really was. Like, I would be in his way. Imagine this at 12 years old that wouldn't shut up more than I don't now because I was worse back then. I was sitting on his right front wheel, and I was in his way, and he was trying to go around the car because he wanted to get the car to the track. That was back when Claremont raced on on Saturdays. And then I remember he was changing the cam, and then a lifter fell into the oil pan. And I heard a bunch of 4-letter words from Ernie, and I was like, I think I'm going to go home now. Like, pretty sure it was probably my fault. But, all right, anybody have questions for Ernie Boudreau here? George Powers says, legend sitting here. That is correct. George Powers, I'm supposed to tell you every time I see you, you need to get in touch with Ben Bazowski because he wants to talk to you. And he said he left you a couple messages, and you're not returning his calls. We'd definitely like to talk to you about some announcing stuff for his racing series that he has. So, I'm excited. I think the schedule, where are we standing on that, Joe?
We just got to get it through the town, and that process is being started. Trust me, I wouldn't say as frustrated as everybody else, but I got late start. Not getting the job till the middle of December, and I just got to get it through the town, and as soon as it's approved, it'll be posted.
The second that does get approval, I'll have it out. Somebody wants to know if you ever talked to Pearl Dewey.
No, I haven't. I haven't talked to him for a long time. I used to see him at Monadnock a lot, but
that's another car that I just remember my entire childhood. And I tell me if this story is true, because I almost feel like you told it to me maybe like 25 years ago, that somebody had actually took Pearl's car out on the track and said it was probably one of the most powerful cars out on the track.
That's a true story, but I can't remember exactly who took it out. But believe it or not, Pearl had some real nice equipment. I mean, they made fun of him a lot, but I'm telling you, the guy, he had a motor. I'm not even sure, but it might have been a Bardwell engine. I'm not sure, but he had some good horsepower, and the car was really good.
See, sometimes it's just not what you see on the outside. These cars, these people that are real racers are what keep this stuff alive. It makes me happy. I'm getting messages from everywhere's here. Oh, ask Ernie about the old bread truck. It's a funny story. I actually bought that bread truck off of Ernie years ago. I don't know what I did with it. I think I sold it to the guy. So I bought Ernie's old red bread truck, and I think I sold it to the guy who owned Stone Vault at one point, who was racing, lived in Unity, had a mini stock. I don't know who he is. There we go, LaGuire. There we go. I sold it to Sid LaGuire. That thing was awesome. I actually didn't buy it directly from Ernie, though. I bought it from Bly's is who I ended up buying that from. But what's that?
Yeah, I mean, there's I have to laugh because the bread truck stories are amazing. I have some of them, too, are pretty wild. I bought that black one that Jack McClay had.
Yep.
Remember that?
I do.
Okay, I went over to Jack's scrapyard over there. It was his dad's yard over there at the top of Unity Mountain. And the truck was sitting there, and I asked him, I said, is this thing ready to go? He says, yeah, you're all set. It was snowing out, a little bit of snow. So I got in the truck and headed down over Unity Mountain, down the County Farm Hill Road there. Got a little ways down the road, stepped on the brakes, had one-wheel brake.
Oh, no.
And it was snowing out. So I'm going down that road, making the sign of the cross and saying I'm going to die. I just know I'm going to die because there was really nowhere to go with it. And it's starting to pick up speed. I'm trying to downshift the damn thing and everything. I finally got down to the bottom of the hill, shaking like a leaf. I had to sit there for about 15 minutes to compose myself. It was pretty funny, but it wasn't funny.
Jeff Murray says he remembers went to get gas in the bread van with you years ago. And I'm being told it was Bruce Batchelor who took Pearl's car out. And then Dwight Jarvis took it out too, says Tyler Morris. So, yeah, the bread vans were cool. But, see, what I remember, Ernie, and from when I was younger, was a black, like it was a primer black pickup truck.
Yeah.
Step side.
Yeah.
He used to slow down and almost stop in front of my house at the end of Maple Ave, and I would jump in the back and head to the track with them on Sundays, back when you used to be allowed in the back of trucks and stuff like that, and you had that old enclosed – no, not enclosed. You had that old open trailer. And I'm sorry, I know you guys love having those enclosed trailers, but to a 9-year-old kid, there's nothing better than seeing something heading to the track on an open trailer, all the equipment hanging out of the back. Like, I miss those days. I really do. I wish we could get back to them, but then when it's pouring rain and I was hanging out in Aaron Fellows' trailer this summer, like, I do like the enclosed trailers for that reason as well.
The enclosed trailers are good, but, You know, Carl Fredrickson and I have this conversation a lot because Carl really is a big deal on open trailers.
Open trailers, yep.
And I agree with him, you know. I always haul with an open trailer myself. We had the enclosed trailer for Sean when he ran the tour, but running myself, I always had an open trailer. And like I tell people, whenever you stop at a store to pick up something to eat or drink on the way to the racetrack, you come back out and there's always people around your car, you know, always asking, hey, man, where are you going with this car anyway? This is pretty cool, you know, and where are you going with it? And you tell them I'm headed to Monadnock or whatever, and they say, no shit. And then, you know, they'll go to the races and watch your race. But with a box trailer you pull in, they don't know what's in it. It could be a lawnmower or snowmobile. Or
going to trim someone's grass around the corner. You don't know what's in it. You're right.
Yeah.
Let's bring back open trailers we should make some sort of thing in NASTRA where we can, like the open trailer night where you get some special bonus if you win with an open trailer or something. This is my job, guys. This is what I do, is I think up weird stuff to do during the week to get more fun stuff going on.
It's not very hard.
No, it's not. But no, me and Joe have seriously been going since Thursday afternoon. Like I got home late last night, wrote a couple things on Facebook, and then passed out. And I woke up today, packed up, and headed over to Claremont.
I watched the end of the New Year's Bash on Race Monitor, and between that and the Turn 4 podcast, and I went to bed.
Yes, the New Year's trash. Yes, I did watch some of that last night. It was like the song that never ends. Like, how much? Let's put a dollar figure. What do you think they trashed on that race?
I have no
last
idea
night?
dollar-wise, but can you imagine 100 laps and it takes 3 hours and 20-some-odd minutes to run it?
Because they hadn't even the race started before we left Augusta, and like I was still home for like an hour and a half when the race was still going on.
At least.
It's unbelievable. Jeff Murray says, Dylan and I used to sit in Sean's two cars and think that we were racing when we were in the cars in the old garage. At one point, I remember there was you had Sean's street stock, and then you had your modified used to be parked behind it, and your old garage. See, I don't know this garage as much as the one that was out on Maple Avenue. That's the one that I used to go to. But I remember, you had like Dwight Jarvis panels, you had the Teddy Bear Pools and Spas panels. Like you had some panels on that garage of cars that are just legendary. And then at one point, I think didn't you have two mods side by side in the back of the garage at one point?
Yes, I did.
Man, Ernie's like, just modifieds. That's
just
it.
Another car. No big deal.
Back in the day, and then Christmas time, he used to have in the front of his garage, he had a modified right in Christmas lights in the front of his garage.
There you go.
You got to bring that back out front here.
Yeah, I know it.
So, getting back to the stuff at hand. Oh, wait, hold on. If you have an open trailer, you get in for half price. Nope, that's a negatory. Open trailers promote racing. That's very true. A bunch of stuff went by me that I didn't see. It just all. So we are running off of a 300-foot-long cable that goes across the road to Ernie's house on the internet. So we're a little bit lagging behind. So your guys' messages are taking a few minutes to come through here. So I do apologize. They're now talking. Yes, I'm just getting chat messages about the New Year's Bash. Oh, yes, a NASTRA competitor won the race down at the New Year's Bash. Yep. So Joe had two cars in that yesterday that he was watching.
Yeah, one was out early with motor problems, and the other one, brand new car, and it needs at the minimum a clip.
Oh, really?
Clip. Oh yeah, it's trashed.
Shout out to all the Northern guys that did finish up front. There was a couple. So, Weasel ended up fourth. It's good when you see the guys from up north represent, but
Austin was up to fourth when they did the green-white checker, and he got rooted out, and I think he finished 8th or 9th.
That is crazy. All right, let's see here. So anybody in chat want to help out Ernie this year? I'm going to throw that out there. Yes, that is a campground, guys. Being asked about the stuff behind the pits. That is a campground that's going in up there. Speak of the devil, another legend just walked in the building as we speak. You should peek your head over in front of the camera and say hi to everybody. This is my second favorite driver. You got to get right next to Joe. What's up? That would be Sean, guys. You're my third favorite.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. Like I'm in the house of Boudreau's here today. So, and Carol's out here too. Hi, Carol. So anybody who wants to give Ernie a hand this year, like definitely, he's in charge of his tech crew. So it's up to him. So if he says he wants you, But if he says he doesn't, guys, I'm sorry. It's Ernie's decision. Joe's not going to dictate who goes on his tech crew and who doesn't. That's Ernie's job. So I'm excited for this upcoming season. I can't wait till the schedule comes out. People get to see it. It's there. It has to be approved. And that's the number one question. I probably get about 9 messages a day on when that schedule. And people say.
You only get 9.
And then I get, can't you just show it to me and I won't tell anybody?
I get the same thing.
It's not happening. I can't do that. So somebody, I hate because the comments that come in from YouTube doesn't tell me. Somebody says Ernie's a good choice on YouTube, whoever that is. So I appreciate that. I know. It's the first thing I said. Someone saying get Sean to help. It's the first thing I said to Ernie is let's get Sean and Dylan to the track and doing something. But I don't know. I might. Nope, that's a hard no from over here. That's probably not from over there. Probably not better than the no way. So 2 or 3 random nights throughout the season, random driver goes to the track, gets a free time. Well, yeah. Let's see. What are the?
Tell Jason to knock it off.
Somebody's asked. Sorry. So where do you see the series going? I don't know what series you're asking because as far as NHSTRA, hopefully to the top. We're trying to build a competitive thing for everybody here. So I don't know. I'm just excited for this upcoming season. Joe, give us a heads up on what you have planned for this upcoming season at Claremont. Maybe can you give us some little nuggets of things that people don't know yet? I'm fishing for you guys here.
I can't think that there's anything that people don't know. I do want to see what we can do to get our modified car counts up and see if we can't do to keep the Outlaws going. But my big concern, not even a concern, one of my biggest priorities is making sure we get that modified division going. There's no reason why we can't have a good car count there.
The cars are out there, and it's no secret if everybody has looked at the schedules for the other tracks. It's kind of everything's scaled back to try to make it easier for everybody to get to. I'm going to hold Jeff Murray to this. He says he's going to try to get his dad to help Ernie. There we go.
There you go.
I am game for that. Kyle Tempest says a great choice on Ernie. Ben says Joe looks sleepy.
I'm not sleepy. I got a good 10 hours last night. Trust me.
Will it be a cancer race this year? That's something that's up to Joe. I did ask Ernie about. Do you even want me to say anything about the thing around the corner here, that special race? I'm looking at Carol. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Ernie, fill us in on what you're going to try to do this year.
With what?
Carol, jump in or somebody here. The Cody race.
Oh, yeah, the Cody LaFont Memorial Race, yeah. There again, I'm not really sure right now what's going to happen with that, but obviously I want to see it happen again. And right now everything's...
My plan is everybody that had a memorial race last year, contact me and we'll find a date for them. I've already talked to Craig Smith about his race.
I believe you're going to try to head it up this year, you said, right? I'm going to talk to Mercedes and see if you guys can get together on that. That'd be awesome.
Robbie Street has reached out about his race, and once I can start seriously talking dates, I will entertain any of the memorial races and bring them all back.
So get a hold of Joe, get a hold of Ernie if you want tech. Ernie, are you opposed to people asking you questions or getting in touch with you about stuff that they're unclear on or unsure?
No, I want them to.
So now, when everybody was saying, who do I contact for Claremont, I couldn't tell you yesterday, couldn't tell you the day before. So you guys can get in touch with Ernie. We want to try to keep everything in a form that we have a digital copy. So if there is something in the future where you have a question, you can't just say well, Ernie said I could. Well, Ernie's going to give you approval in an email or a message, and that way down the road if there's a question of something, well, Ernie said I could, you need to show me where Ernie said you could in a message because that's just how it is. Or if somebody else gives approval, this is the way I think we're going to try to keep things on the up and up.
We definitely want to start a paper trail because I've been too many times, especially when I was at Lee, that somebody would come in, they'd talk to me during the week. I'm saying, if that's all that's wrong with your car, we can make it work. And then all of a sudden they show up and there's 3 or 4 things wrong with the car. And they said, Joe said so. And it's like, no, I didn't. So let's make sure everybody's on the same page and we get everything in black and white.
All right, there's more I'm reading into this than All right, so Jimmy Waterhouse, I'll have to get back to you. I'm marking that question, so I'll see it later. That's something I'm going to have to look into. Joe Osgood watching from Florida. Go Ernie. People are excited for this. All right, so now I can say, because I've had for a week where I've been asking people to guess. One person guessed Ernie, and it was Dave Lesgord, and he's the only one that guessed it. And Dave, I love it when he did it, because when he put it online, he just nicely tagged Ernie in something and said something like, well, technically speaking, Ernie, you're correct. And I knew exactly what he was saying. So, and then he was fishing last night. Dave sent me a message and said, so when you leave Ernie's tomorrow, you sticking around town or are you going out to eat? And I'm like, don't know if I'm going to Ernie's tomorrow. Good try. He almost got me. I was like that close to be like, yeah. So people had asked, we're all going to Pizza Hut later. I don't think Ernie and them are going, but a bunch of people are going to Pizza Hut after, as soon as we get done here in Claremont. So if you want to join us and have fun, we're going to probably shut the place down and get kicked out of there. But it should be fun. Because what else are you doing? It's Monday night. It's going to be 8 o'clock. You're going to come hang out with us at Pizza Hut. Nothing else going on in this town. And I got asked why Pizza Hut, because nothing in Claremont's open past 8:30 other than Pizza Hut. What is going on? All right, so here's a question. What is going on with getting rid of the late models? I heard Claremont and Monadnock is removing late models from the race. So late models are now considered outlaws. So the NHSTRA late models are what used to be known as the street stocks. It's a division switch that moved up. And so the outlaws are running at Claremont Motorsports Park full-time. They'll be at Oktoberfest.
And I believe the Pumpkin Fest or one of the races
at a Pumpkin Fest down at Lee.
Hudson.
Yeah, Hudson. Sorry, Lee. When you deal with 4 tracks on a daily basis, they all blend in together.
Changing tracks, it's like okay, I'm saying Lee when I should be saying Claremont. And
yes, you have it just as bad because you've been running Lee for years. So, all right. So the decision making on why they went to Claremont is because the bulk of those cars were at Claremont, and that division. If you have 7 cars, and now you have 4 places that run them, and 2 run at Monadnock, 3 run at Claremont, 1 runs at Hudson, it's not a competitive field. Stick them all together, and let's grow this division. The division, if this division grows and takes off, then there's no reason why this division can't eventually work its way back out, but it needs to grow. And being at one track, I mean, the pool of places that you're going to go with it are a lot smaller. So that's kind of the thinking on that. The same with the mini stocks going to Monadnock. They had one of the best counts, I believe, on the mini stocks down there. Ben says he wants the coupe in the back.
Everybody does.
We need to do this for the background. I agree. Like I should snap a picture before we go and make this the background of our studio. Bruce Rosenborough says, "Hi Ernie, watching you from Florida. Great to see you." I have a billion questions that are coming in, and I'm missing it. Beth McTaggart says, congratulations, Ernie. No, I'm not buying pizza. You guys are buying it for me. This question's been sent to me 9 times already today.
I got a lot of comments today that you're cheap.
I'm super cheap. I never said that I wasn't. I'm extremely cheap. All right, but if I switch that division, won't the engines become too powerful and considered, quote-unquote, illegal? If you are running a late model Sportsman at Claremont Motorsports Park or one of the other NASTRA tracks, that car fits into the current outlaw rules. The name changed. If you haven't looked at the outlaw rules, they've actually been opened up and loosened up with a lot of stuff that everybody wants. You can almost run just about anything in that division right now. I know Jeremy Davis was looking at the rules yesterday and discovered that Natasha's awesome car fits in those rules.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely,
that may show up at a time or two. By the way, that car was awesome.
Oh, it was gorgeous.
As soon as I saw it, I was in love with that car. Connor McDougall's car was fantastic. Brandon Baker's car was awesome. Tell you, all those cars there were great. Weber's modified. Absolutely amazing. That Battle's going to be running.
Jeffrey Battle's new car. That's a gorgeous car.
When you see the gray and the white together, it worked. And both those cars matched. Like, I absolutely loved it.
And all being painted and not being a wrap.
Jeff Murray says that we should fire up the coupe for the end of the show. I have lights in there and stuff, guys, so it's probably not that easy to fire up. I do agree, though. It would be fun. Your neighbors would not like it, though.
Nah.
I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing questions, guys. Sorry. If I miss something that's important, I say this if I miss something that's important, they fly by me so quick. Just please write it again. If I'm not ignoring you.
You missed Jim Ambrose's comment.
Did I?
Go, Ernie. Best man for the job.
I haven't seen that one yet. Oh, another Dennis Thompson. Hi, Ernie. Ernie has a lot of people who like him. Imagine that. Ernie, all right, here's a question for you. How have you been in racing for almost 60 years, and every single person you ask loves you?
Well, that's not necessarily true.
Most everybody I've ever mentioned your name to.
It's not following
I try not to hate a lot of people, so.
Oh, Ben says if he knew pizza was involved, he would have been over here. Ben, you're sick. We're not allowing you back over here. Let's see. I built the 70. All right, I built 70. All right, I'm gonna. All right, so these are in-depth questions. Tech-related stuff, guys. Send me your info. Send it to one of the pages, or you can email me at mark@racenhstra.com, and I will make sure your stuff gets sent to where it needs to go. Are you run? Man, they are flying by. Emily Miller says that Ernie is her friend, and she's going to snap more pictures of him now. We didn't think of this, Ernie. She spotted you before when you were in the stands. Now you're no longer a moving target. You're going to be in one spot all night long. Are you okay with this?
I'm okay with that. That's fine.
Oh, is that? Yes. Colton has been spotted. Somebody spotted Colton. Come say hi. Everyone sees you. Yeah. Colton's my little shadow. He's my buddy, so I bring him with me everywhere as I can. Steve Ferlin spotted you. Congrats, Ernie. John Denoncourt says congrats from the old Westboro crew. Claring for me, boys. Oh, somebody said we're awesome. I appreciate that. That's not usually the words that are used to describe me. They're usually a lot more pointed to it. It was good to have my car and the coupe. Yeah, I'd love to. I haven't seen or talked to Jeff Murray since he was probably in the kids division. I think it was the last time I'd even see. I know he's raced a ton since then, but I didn't see him race for many years. Jacqueline McClay wants to know, what is Carol's official title now? Stand at the fence with you. That's what it is. So, all right, guys, I'm excited. I don't know what else to say. Like, I got my all-time favorite racer to work tech at the track that I love more than any of the other tracks in the world. I actually was so nervous when I called Ernie. So I called you. You didn't answer. I texted Dylan. I was like, what's Ernie's number? Because I thought maybe I had it wrong. You gave me the number. I'm like, number's right. So then I called you again, and you didn't answer again. Then I Facebook messaged you, and I think you was like, oh, that was Mark. Okay. So then I called, and I was so nervous to ask you because I thought you were going to tell me to go pound sand. I thought you were going to be like, yeah, no, not happening. I'm not coming to do tech. And then you actually took all of like 4 seconds. You're like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it. Nobody, when I went back and made a call to Joe and to everybody else, they all laughed at me. Said, there's no way that actually happened. I was like, he's in.
No,
like, he is really in.
No, I had talked to enough people ahead before to. Actually, the very first person who told me to ask you was Jim Ambrose.
Yep.
And Jim was actually my first introduction to Claremont. Raced a lot of years with Brett down at Monadnock. I had never been to Claremont until I think it was 2016, 17. Went and met with Jim and talked about the possibility of going to work for him back then. And it just didn't work out, and I stayed at Lee.
Phil Chastney says, we all know Carol's really the new head of tech.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Colton, Kevin Furlan wants a hat. Does Kevin Furlan own any bit of clothing that doesn't have a race car on it? I'm just curious. It's all I see him post online that is that kind of stuff. Good on you, man. All right. Anybody else have any questions for Ernie? Like, I'm kind of starstruck here. So, like, I'm out of questions because I could just talk race. I could listen to you talk racing forever. Like, I really could. I wish I could get Sean to slide in there and talk about some of his stuff. I actually would. Sean, I would love to know what was going through your head when you were coming down the front stretch at Claremont, facing the wall upside down repeatedly. Like, I wish you would step in and take Joe's mic for a minute.
We could do
Oh,
that.
look at this, guys. I
could do
just
that.
got Sean
Awesome.
on.
Let me get out of here without stepping on the wires.
Now I'm excited. All right. This is it's people who don't know, this is what used to be the True Value Modified Series most popular driver for numerous years in a row, Sean Boudreau. What's going on, Sean?
How are you?
I'm doing good. So that day, everybody who hasn't seen the pictures needs to see these. I'm trying to find them, and they were hopefully they'll get sent to me here soon. But what went through your head? Because that happened in all of like 1 second.
Yeah, it happened quick, like anything does in a modified. The two guys in front of me touched wheels, and one guy didn't go, and I did, and next thing I know, I'm upside down. But when I stopped, the safety crew came running over, and he's like, "You okay? You okay?" And the radio had fallen out of the car, so the crew couldn't hear me, and the safety guy was like, "Just sit there for a second, get your bearings." I'm like, "Let me out of this freaking car. I want to get out." And he's like, "No, you got to sit here for a second." And I'm like, finally I got out, and I looked at it, I'm like, holy shit. This thing took it hard. And, once we got up into the pits and started looking at it, but yeah, it all happened so quick. I really didn't know where I was at the point when I landed. I didn't know if I was in the grandstands or what, because it happened so quick,
That did happen at one point, didn't it? Not with you guys, but
no.
I thought a car went into the grandstands when I was a kid or something like that off of turn 1. Somebody had told me years ago.
Dave Bibbins ended up there.
That's what it was.
He took down the fence. Yeah, and Brian Baker, I might have ended up there at one point as well.
Brian Baker's probably ended up upside down almost everywhere at that track at
probably.
some point, one time or another.
He took the light pole pretty hard once, too.
Oh, question for Ernie. It says, Ernie, what is your funniest moment that you remember in racing?
Why do you keep asking me all these questions?
These are coming from. This is coming from the people. Like, people love them some Ernie Boudreau. People, like, there has to be something that sticks out that was just you shook your head and like, how the heck did that happen? Or
probably the funniest thing that ever happened to me, it really wasn't funny, but it was funny, it's
funny now, probably.
when we had COTA, and nobody really wanted to do the race director's job, so
nobody still wants to do the race director's job.
They didn't want to do it, so they all pawned it off on me, even though I was actually driving at that time too. So the agreement was made that after the races were over, I would stand by my car, and anybody that had any arguments or questions would come over and talk to me. Well, one night I'm standing there, there's a line of people, and I'm standing there waiting for people to come over and talk to me. And this girl walked over to me and started talking to me, and next thing you know, she punched me right in the face. I mean, like hard. It was funny, but it wasn't funny. I mean, that hurt. And she didn't say anything. She just walked away. But that was kind of funny. So.
Did you ever find out why?
No. Of course, at that time, everybody hated anybody that had anything to do with. It was hard for me because I was driving too, and, people would come over and say, well, why was I black flagged? And I really and truly didn't know. It's just that the people that were involved at COTA at that time didn't want to be bothered. So they gave my phone number to everybody, and I would get phone calls. That's another story. I would get phone calls like at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning. People asking me, did you find my comb? Or did I leave my wallet somewhere up there? Can I pick up my check today because I want to go grocery shopping? It's just like unreal.
Yeah, guys, don't call Ernie at 7 in the morning on a Sunday,
no,
please.
don't call me because I won't answer you.
I like the drive-in race director. That's pretty interesting. I've never heard that story.
That was pretty interesting. Nobody wanted to do it.
As you spin people off your front bumper, like, I'm keeping my position. Let's keep going.
That's right.
So I'm told to ask Ernie Boudreau about his Christmas card.
Oh God, that must be George Powers.
That would be George Powers.
That was kind of a sad thing, really. But
I don't want sad stories.
Well, it turned out to be. I don't know if you guys remember Irving Reed, but he's since passed away.
I do not.
Well, he was, quite a. He was really, really slow, and he had a hard time racing. So, and Irving and I were really good friends. And Irving comes to my house a couple days before Christmas one time, and he walks in my kitchen and he said, "Hey, Ernie, I got you a Christmas card," and I think he had a little box of candy or something. He said, "I want to wish you a Merry Christmas." And I said, Jesus, I really appreciate this. I don't know whatever. So I opens up the card, and the card said, "Thank you for considering me to drive your other car." And as soon as he said that, I said, "That son of a bitch," and George Powers. George put him up to it. He told him that I said he could drive the other car.
Oh, my God.
I had two cars. I felt like shit, because Irvin really thought he was going to drive my other modified, which absolutely was not going to happen. But I'll never forget that, and I'll never forgive Powers for doing that son of a bitch, because, I felt really bad, and Irving was devastated when he found out he wasn't going to drive the mod.
We wanted. I have a question that it just says Todd, so I don't have a last name. That says, "Where's your cookies and milk?"
That would be Todd Martell. When I quit drinking, that's all I got was cookies and milk. So he was bringing them to the racetrack all the time.
Somebody's asking if you two are related.
No.
No, not at all.
They said 3, but no. So I'm assuming there must meaning Dylan, but he's over there hiding.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're all related.
yes, Ernie is Sean's dad.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, out of all the cars that you've had a ton of different schemes on these cars over the years. You had a plethora of numbers. What is your favorite number that you've ever run, and what is your favorite car that you've ever ran, design-wise? Because your cars were always top-notch.
Yeah, I think my favorite car design-wise was the year that Jet Miller designed the car. It was the 44. It had a red bottom with a black top with a yellow stripe. That was probably my favorite car because it was just really sleek looking. Every track that it was at, it just looked good on the racetrack.
That's actually one of my favorite ones of your designs. And another one was it was kind of had white with like skulls on it or something like that, if I remembered.
Yeah.
That was a cool one. My favorite number of yours was the 60. When you ran the yellow 60 was my absolute favorite car.
Yeah, and then we ran the 60 late model for a year with Dave Young, the black primer 60.
I want to know what your favorite moment in a car was. You've had a ton. You've had a ton of wins. You've had a ton of cool stuff happen to you in the car. What is the one thing that you'll close your eyes when you are 90 and look back on and say, that was pretty damn cool?
I mean, there's definitely a few that have happened. Obviously, he mentioned earlier the first win in a big mod, rookie year. You know, that was back when Claremont was getting 25 modifieds.
Didn't you have hair in that picture?
Possibly a little
I
bit.
thought you did.
You know, and then obviously my first tour win at Monadnock, and that night was just like we dominated that race. It led by half a track at one point and just ended up winning that race. And then obviously my last win to beat heads up restart after restart with Dwight Jarvis and to just outrun him, you know, and then to see, you know, Philly get his first win. It was for, you know, his biggest win as a car owner. You know, he wanted to beat Dwight. You know, he worked with Dwight and he looked up to Dwight, you know, and all of us did. So to go out there and, you know, outrace Dwight Jarvis is that.
That's what I try to remember. And this is not taking – we have our own new group of legends that are racing now.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when you were racing against some pretty top guns. When you start naming names that you raced against, like
you know, Dwight, Kirby, Peter Daniels, you know, Kirby Monteith, Dwight, of course. There was just Bruce Batchelder, and those guys didn't give you 1 inch. You know, they, you know, and as a young kid coming in there and racing, they definitely made you earn every inch.
Now. Jumping up, so if I follow your career correctly in my head, and it's been a long time, I remember there was like a blue and black enduro car that you ran somewheres, and then you jumped into the 60.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, you're full-blown tour mod racing.
Yeah.
Like, explain that jump to people where you're jumping in. Now, the street stocks back then that Sean drove were street stocks. They were 305s.
Yeah.
They were stock frames, stock everything, and you jump into a tour mod. What was that first time out on the track like that? What was it like?
It was a little intimidating, to say the least.
How old were you when you jumped into it?
It's 93, so it was 18.
18 years old.
You know,
What's
that's
nowadays?
old now.
Nowadays,
Right.
that's old.
That's old. You know, Colton here. How old are you? 14.
14
right?
years old. Guy's
know?
got a tour mod.
Yeah. So, it was. You know, when I raced that 1 year in the street stocks, and he was getting ready to get done, and when he asked me to drive it, and he's like, you know, I don't want you to get any bad habits running these fendered cars for too long, so you might as well just hop in the mod. It was intimidating the first couple weeks, but he made me start in the back until I could prove that I could handle myself. And you know, it's funny, one of the first couple races, you know, Jack Bateman helped us tremendously throughout my whole career. You know, whenever I raced, he helped me. And when we started racing, we weren't buying new tires. Jack was running. He'd give us his takeoffs. Well, it's probably one of the first few weeks that I raced. We had a really good car, and I got completely in over my head, and I ran right over Jack. Ran over him. And not only did I spin him, but after I spun him, I hit him.
Oh.
And I felt like an asshole because I just ran over Jack, you know. And I'm have my head hanging down. And he comes walking down after the race, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I said, I had a good car, and he's like, "You know, you just gotta learn to, you have a good car, just keep your head on straight." He's like, "You're doing a good job, but you know, you need to just like calm down a little bit."
Is there any point in your racing career, because you have big shoes to fill when you're Ernie Boudreau's kid? Like, let's be honest. Was there anything that ever happened out on the racetrack where you were worried about coming into the pits about your dad being mad at you?
Him and I fought like cats and dogs. Because when he raced, like he was saying earlier, he did it for the fun of it. He was not aggressive. He just was happy to be there racing. And me, I wanted to win the friggin' race. And not that I would intentionally wreck people, but I was aggressive. And he did not like that. Like he didn't like the car coming in with the right front hanging off it, you know, because we'd have to fix it the next week. But I wanted to win the friggin' race, and I didn't really care if that's what it took. You know, sometimes you do that. It happens.
Sometimes it's got to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, you're aggressive, things happen.
How many wins do you know off the top of your head did you end up with?
I don't. It's got to be somewhere in the around 15 maybe.
And these are tour mod wins too, guys. Like that tour back in the day was pretty stout.
I never did win in the fendered car. We had I think 3 second-place finishes that year. Luke beat me twice, and Rich DeBow beat me once, and I just could not. We were fast. I just couldn't get it. I still want a fendered win at some point, maybe. We ran the fendered car. We ran they had that Subway 150 race. We ran at Canaan once, and I ran the ACT race over at Devil's Bowl, but we were terrible that day. And
now, did you? I think I heard Colton correctly enough to ask you. Did you run a dirt car recently?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I ran Jamie Furlan's dirt car on the asphalt, and then I drove Luke Hinckley's nephew Tegan has a mini sprint. I drove that up to Rumney this year.
So now you've raced now at this point in your life. Now you're retired after your win. You went out on top. I hope we can eventually change that one day. But out of all the different stuff you've driven, what's your favorite? Is it the mod?
Oh yeah, there's nothing like a tour mod at all.
That feeling's got to be. You have to still miss it. Like your dad said, he jumped out of the car and he said he just washed his hands and he was done. Didn't care.
I do. I still. I mean, I don't have a difficult time going to the racetrack now just because it's been a while. But when I go and the tour mods are at Claremont, yeah, going to like the tri-track races or the wheeling races or the open races, that really.
So, all right, somebody in chat says that they have a spare fendered car out there, and I can tell off of this name, it's a very nice one. Would you be entertained into that car this year at all? Jeff Murray wants to put you in a car.
Yeah, he does, huh?
He says he has a spare fender car that he can put you in to get you that win.
Yeah. Yeah, tell him we'll talk.
Oh, see, look at that, guys. This went from no more racing, I'm retiring, to I got Ernie Boudreau to come do tech, and I got Sean Boudreau saying that he might actually get back in a car. We're making dreams happen over here in Claremont tonight. These are seriously my dreams.
Yeah, your dreams, yeah.
And I've said it, and people hate, and I say it repeatedly, like, the Boudreaus lived up the road for me. I grew up with them, like, every bit of that garage. Like, I didn't have that stuff at my house. Like, we didn't have race cars. We went to the track every week. And I remember the first time when I met Ernie when I was a little kid, was probably in, because Ernie and my dad worked together for a long time first. That's how they knew each other. But I met you at McDonald's at the car show. And I remember my dad talking to you, and like I thought it was the coolest thing in the world because I was like, my dad knows a famous race car driver. Like, this is amazing to me. And just to see you now, all the years that you've done, like, you get to look back on the history of all the years you've done, everything Sean's done, everything that Dylan's done. Like, you created a legacy in modified racing. And what did you say earlier? It was like, I didn't really do much, and I had junk equipment or this and that. You had people looking up to you for years. You count yourself a little short on that. Like, you look at modified racing, and you can say anywhere as you go, Ernie Boudreau, and they say, I know him. I know Ernie. He raced at Claremont, raced all around the place. Everybody knows you. You sell yourself a little short. One of these days, I want to try to get you in that car behind you out on the track. That's my goal.
You know, the funny thing is that I've never driven this car.
I know. I've heard.
Sean has. I've never driven it. I tried moving it once out in the yard here, and I almost took the fence down, and I parked it. And so Sean has driven it at the track, and he's the only one that's
It's a
ever
little
driven
tricky to drive because when they built that car, they swapped the brake pedal and the clutch pedal because of the way the engine's
what?
set in it.
Yeah.
The way the engine is set in it and the way the steering shaft goes, they couldn't fit the master cylinder for the clutch over on where it normally is. So the clutch is in the middle, and the brake is over on. So it's very unnatural to drive. Like trying to take it out of gear and then stop, your feet just don't feel like they're in the right place. So that's why he had a hard time driving it. And
your daughter says her anxiety can't handle you behind the wheel.
yeah.
He was racing long before that you were here.
That's true.
Actually, and we're running out of time here, but Earl Bull says basically, Ernie, you're the mod father. You are modified racing around here. I'm happy that you're coming on board with Claremont Motorsports Park. Please reach out to Ernie if you are interested in giving me a hand with tech. If you have some questions for Ernie on stuff, give him a call. Talk to him. He'd be more than happy to sit down and discuss some tech stuff with you. Now, I mean, guys, are you happy I at least kept it a secret for a couple days so we could come and do a show? We not only got to talk to Ernie, we got Sean on a podcast and got to talk to him a little bit too. Like, super excited that you came on, and I can't believe I got Ernie in his first podcast too. Like, this is amazing.
You did.
So, all right, guys, I'm Mark Baudry. This is Inside NHSTRA. Sean Boudreau, Joe Bassett, Ernie Boudreau, the entire Boudreau family. We got Colty over here. Thank you very much. If you have questions, please reach out. We're all heading over to Pizza Hut, 8 o'clock, so if you guys want to come hang out. I hear Earl's buying. That's what he said in chat. I deleted the message, but it's what he said. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one. Bye, guys.
See ya.